Hi, folks. This is Mark Smith with Family Tree Life Coaching. I have an excellent video for you tonight. It's entitled, Be a Goddamn Cheetah, Not a Regressed Inner Child. Be a goddamn cheetah, not a regressed inner child. Man, when inspiration taps me on the shoulder, I get busy. And I was seeing a client earlier this evening, and just this whole war cry of being a goddamn cheetah coming from Glennon Doyle's book Untamed just kept haunting me and speaking to me, and I knew I had to make a video. So I wrapped up, and then I spent some time on the phone talking to my son. And the thing about being fierce, being strong, Glennon Doyle's metaphor of being a goddamn cheetah is, being fierce. Facing life's hardest, most painful enemies and walking away with, meat in your mouth. And it isn't the measure of a woman or a man when everything's going great. Everything's been going great for me. And I had like 15 glowing victories in a row, and I wanted to talk about what a goddamn cheetah I was, and then life comes along and punches you right in the gut. My son and his wife got married in early November. It was the coolest wedding probably in the history of the world. It was friggin' awesome. Maybe not in the history of the world, but it was pretty fucking cool. And my son is a goddamn cheetah, and his wife is a bigger goddamn cheetah. But they lost their baby. We just found out tonight. And talk about two people who are yearning and looking forward to having a little baby of their own. Just breaks my heart for them. Plus I don't get to have that grandchild quite yet that I was looking for my first. This is what a beast my son is. We were talking about why things happen. It's a chromosome disorder that strikes 1 out of every 10,000 couples. 1. And my beast son, my goddamn cheetah son, says, well, if it was going to happen to 1 out of 10,000, why not us? Because we're equipped. We have support. We have strength, we have resources. And he's right. They got more friends than anybody I know. And they got a lot of wisdom, they got a lot of money, they got a lot of talent, they got a lot of skill. They're superhuman beings is what they are. And he said, if anybody could handle it, it's us. And he's right. So I just wanted to say that my son and his wife are two of the best and biggest and most badass goddamn cheetahs I've ever known. And they'll get through this, and they will attack. They'll feel the pain, and then they will make some good out of it. they'll make people aware of this disorder, and they'll do good in the world with their strength. But now it's time to feel sadness. So I sort of had the wind knocked out of me from that, but I still found inspiration to make the video. My throat is sore, and this is take number 2. I got 6 minutes in, and Mr. Polly decided it was time to go poop. He couldn't tell a brother, 6 minutes earlier he had to poop. He had to wait till I started the video. Woof, 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 I gotta poop. So, took care of that. This war cry, be a goddamn cheetah, comes from Glennon Doyle's book, Untamed. Best book I've written in years. I wish I wrote it. Best book I've listened to in years and years and years. Brilliant book. She has a way of putting truth into words that reaches out and snatches your mind and snatches your heart. But we're going to be talking about cheetahs coming up here. I've got some thank yous for my team of professionals that are helping me. But then we're going to talk about some cheetah facts. We're talking about cheetahs. I want to know about cheetahs. So, but I have a whole cadre of therapists. When you have as many issues as I do, you need a whole village of therapists to work on your issues. So I want to thank Steve Cooper, who taught me the concept of not walking around like a regressed little child. I spent much of really 15 years walking around, and maybe a quarter of the time I was a regressed little boy. I found it's not very attractive to women. And it has a lot of detrimental effects to your life in a lot of ways. But Steve taught me that concept, and that's what we work on. I want to thank Brittany Zooks. She's my regular therapist who sort of covers the whole of my life. Been working with her for 3 years or so, and she's wonderful. Steve is wonderful. He really makes himself available to his clients more than any therapist I know. Dennis Rodman once, after winning a championship, got on, they came up and they interviewed the guy, and this is the only mic I've got. Okay, we'll use this. This is a mic right here. I'll use this mic. So they interviewed Dennis Rodman. He said, I want to thank my psychiatrist. Dennis Rodman needed a psychiatrist, and so does Mark Smith, and probably so do you. But I have a psychiatric nurse named Julia Fonte, and she's fantastic. And again, she makes herself really available for communication, at least with me. So I'm very blessed. I also want to thank my therapist, Paul Hartman, who's been working with me on love addiction recovery, 12-step recovery for love addiction. I worked with Paul in 2007 in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I worked with Paul in 2015 in Michigan, and I worked with him again, online. He's 81 years old, and he wouldn't take just anybody as a client, but he thinks that I'm special. And I think all these people, all these therapists are really, really special. One more person I need to thank, and that's my sponsor, John. John spends most of his time with his foot up my ass, and that's okay, because that's what I need sometimes. So if you haven't read Glennon Doyle's book Untamed, run to the store and get you a copy. Download it onto Audible and listen to it 6 times. It is brilliant. It starts out sort of weird. Sort of, hey, I thought I was heterosexual, but I'm not, and now I'm going to marry a famous tennis player. And I'm like, that isn't really what I thought this would be. And then she went into discussion of sense of self and feeling your pain and addiction that I've never heard it communicated that well before. So I'm having all the men read it and all the women read it in my practice, because it's friggin' brilliant. It'll teach you how to be a goddamn cheetah. So, but let's learn about cheetahs just a little bit, since we're on the topic of goddamn cheetahs. Let's just get into it. I got some Wikipedia notes. The cheetah is a very large cat native to Africa and central Iran, I guess is what you said. It is the fastest land animal, capable of running 80 to 120 kilometers, or basically from about 50 to 80 miles. It can run 80 miles an hour. That's one fast cat, man. And has several adaptations for speed, including light build, long thin legs, and a long tail. I have long legs, and they're fairly thin, but it don't make me fast. I've never been confused for an actual cheetah. Adults weigh between 20 and 60 kilograms, or about 143 pounds. Its head is small and round, and it has a short snout and a black tear-like facial streaks. The coat is typically tawny to creamy white or pale buff, and is mostly covered with evenly spaced solid black spots. 4 subspecies are recognized. Cheetahs are more gregarious than many other cats. The cheetah has 3 main social groups: females and their cubs, male coalitions, and solitary males. While females lead the nomad life searching for prey in large home ranges, males are more sedentary. Sounds like real life, doesn't it? Women do all the work and the males are sedentary, and may instead establish a much smaller territory in areas where plentiful prey and access to females. The cheetah is active mainly during the day, and hunting is its preoccupation, with peaks during dawn and dusk. Feeds on small to medium-sized animals, such as gazelles and impalas. The cheetah will typically stalk its prey within 200 to 300 feet, charge toward it, trip it during the chase, and then bite its throat and suffocate it. Are you getting the idea what a cheetah is? It runs at you 80 miles an hour, it trips you, and then it bites your throat and suffocates you. Badass motherfucker is what that is right there. Pardon my language. Breeding occurs throughout the year. After the gestation of nearly 3 months, a litter of typically 3 to 5 cubs is born. Weaning happens 4 months later. Cheetahs occur in a variety of habitats, such as the savannas and the Serengeti, arid mountain ranges in the Sahara, and hilly desert terrain in Iran. The cheetah is threatened by several factors, such as habitat loss, conflict with humans, poaching, high susceptible to disease. Earlier ranging out through most of the Sahara African desert extending eastward into the Middle East up into the Indian continent. The cheetah is now distributed mainly in small fragmented populations in central Iran. I did not know that. And southern, eastern, and northwestern Africa. In 2016, the global cheetah population was estimated at 7,100. There's only 7,100 of these cats left in the wild, and it's listed as a vulnerable species on the list. In the past, cheetahs used to be tamed and trained for hunting, guides, and they have been widely depicted in art, literature, advertising, and animation. So, you got a little lesson on cheetah factoids. So, I got inspired to make this video because there's been such a spectacular change in me in the past 2 months. Is all two and a half months. Where I was coming out of an addictive relationship. I was exhausted. I was insecure. I was withdrawn. I was doing average work with clients. I don't know if my clients know. Usually I'm pretty damn good. Between damn good and brilliant. But other days I suck. And I was sucking for a while. I just didn't have it. I was sad. I had a few suicidal ideations. I just felt overwhelmed by all the things that needed done in life. And again, I felt some abandonment issues by a woman. So that was 5-6 weeks ago. And I started attending 12-step meetings. I started work with Paul Hartman. I continued work with Brittany Sukes. I continued work with Steve Cooper. And I was blessed to read this book, Untamed, by Glennon Doyle. And you add all that together, and I've had laser focus. You say, how do you have laser focus? You've mispronounced 6 words already tonight. It's late. This is what I've accomplished. And when I was in my addiction, in this love addiction, I was completely disorganized. But these are the 15 things that I've accomplished in the past 6 weeks. I got license plates for my motorcycle and my Thunderbird and my new spaceship car. My Hyundai Tucson. You say, dude, that's not a major victory getting license plates. But when your brain is fuzzy and you've got complex PTSD and when you feel like you're a little kid, going to the DMV can be a little bit overwhelming. But I did have to make 3 trips. But I got it done. And I'm so proud of myself for doing that. I've had skin cancer all over my chest and back. And I've been ignoring it. Haven't been dealing with it. So I've been going to the skin doctor. My urologist retired, which almost made me weep. He was like a second father to me. I went to the urologist so often. My dermatologist retired and my dentist retired. They all saved their money. I didn't save enough money or I'd been retired too. But I went to the same practice that used to be Dr. Scheidler's practice. And I go in there and the nice lady anesthetizes places and just scrapes big old chunks out of me. I got plenty of room for chunks to be taken out of. So, but my point is, I'm getting my skin cancer taken care of. I got my license plate. A week ago tomorrow, I had rotator cuff surgery. And all you wannabe moms out there that are going to carry on that I don't have my sling on, shush yourself. I don't want to hear it. I wear it 90% of the time, but just sitting here right now, I don't really need it. If I want to move my arm, I just reach down with one hand and I move the other one, and I'm all good. It's been remarkable. The surgery has made my arm stronger, even though there's still a bit of pain with it. So I got my shoulder, which has really been damaged since 1981. Got my rotator cuff repaired. Went to the dentist. I hadn't been to the dentist in 7 years. Went to the same dentist, Dr. Dixon, retired. My son Jarrett used to sit on my tummy and while Dr. Dixon worked on my teeth. But he retired, but there's nice folks over there now, and they're taking care of me, and they put a crown back in that came out, and I'm getting 2 cavities taken care of in a couple of days. Another thing that happened was in her book, Untamed, Glennon Doyle talks about knowing. You know things. You feel in your gut, and therefore you know. And I was knowing crippled because somebody could come across me and tell a lie, especially a woman could tell. I'm going to believe them every time. I'm a dope. And since I've had this knowing, it led me to terminate a relationship that I just know is filled with falsehoods. And it just feels so tremendously empowering to know in your soul, to know in your belly, to know in your gut, when somebody's lying to you. A lot of people out there suffer from narcissistic abuse, but the reason that you're susceptible to the lying is you're not connected enough to yourself to know a wolf from a sheep. And I recently had enough growth in my life to where I just know who's who. And I've cut out people from my life who are not safe. I'm also right in the middle of refinancing my condo. I'm going to get a really, really, really excellently low rate. And that'll be happening in the next couple of weeks. I'm tremendously organized. My mind is focused and nimble. We have 2 new shows that are beginning. And actually, the Mark and Larry show's been going for 5 weeks. We have 5 episodes, including, if you haven't seen it, I interviewed 3 men who've had either their father or their son commit suicide. It was powerful. It was exhausting, but it was so powerful. If you haven't seen that and you have anybody in your history that committed suicide, you got to see that video. I think that's maybe the most intense video Family Tree has ever produced. So the other show is I've got another life coach that I'll be training. Her name is Angie, Anjie, Angie with a J. Her last name is Bond, like James Bond. I wish my name was Bond, Mark Bond. It doesn't really work. But we're conversating about what the name of the show would be called, and I want to call it Angie and Mark's Hit Show, HIT. Guess what HIT stands for? It stands for honesty, one of the most important words in the English language. It stands for integrity, and the T stands for transparency. That's our hit show, honesty, integrity, transparency. I'm digging it. I don't know if Angie's digging it. I sent it to her at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm sure she's sleeping. I'm pretty sure she's going to dig it, though, because it's good. Okay, so it's fun doing these 2 new shows and training not only a couple of new therapists, but also training some life coaches. So another thing that fired me up and got the cheetah running down, a gazelle and taking him down and biting him on the neck is, I won't go into the details, but I really have been singled out and abused by a particular organization. I really have been. I'm telling you the truth. Just they've been very incompetent. And when a narcissist makes complaints against you, and then another narcissist does, and then another narcissist does, all of a sudden you're a bad guy. And I'm not. I'm about farthest thing from a bad guy. So, but they said I could write a letter to them, so I wrote them a letter. I wrote them a God Damn Cheetah letter and told them what I thought. I thought I was pretty respectful, but I spoke up powerfully to an organization that has been abusing its power, and I'm proud of myself for that. Like I said, another exciting thing is the suicide show. You gotta watch that if there's any suicide in your family. Remember I was saying a ways back when I bought my car that I call my spaceship, that they were sort of cheating me out of $1,000 on the contract, and I was sort of bragging and saying, hey, I got assertive, I'm a cheetah, I never got it, but you know what? I stayed with it. I was relentless, and now I got my $1,000. So that made me really happy. They thought that if they just ignored me, I'd go away, and I wasn't going away without my $1,000. This may sound silly as a victory, but I tried to sell this beautiful maroon leather couch, and nobody wanted to buy it. But I wanted to open up my room. It's huge in the living room. And so then instead I sold a cheesy fake leather double recliner with a middle where you can put drinks. And I had 21 offers in 11 minutes. So people like cheesy over classy, I guess. But the guy came and gave me $10 extra because I should have charged like $1,000 for it. I didn't know it was so much in demand. So I also got one of those Roomba iRobot vacuum sweepers, and it gives Polly somebody to play with. Polly just sits and just observes it, and the Roomba runs into Mr. Polly, and Mr. Polly just moves. The first day now, Polly was barking at it and carrying on with himself about what is this thing doing in our house, but then he sort of calmed down. The 13th thing that I'm thrilled with and I feel victory about is I was in another relationship, but it wasn't based on enough about truth or integrity, and it was a mutual parting of ways, but there was a tremendous lack of truth, courage, and integrity. And so I feel wonderful that I don't miss this person, and I feel empowered by the whole experience. The 14th thing that I've been whooping ass in and achieving is I have a Harley Davidson, and I let them get really dirty and really nasty looking. And I brought it to a detailer, Rod Daring. If you haven't used his services, he's fantastic there at about 86 and Ditch. And he had a guy go over my motorcycle. Looks like a brand new motorcycle, and got it tucked away for the winter. But when you feel like a little kid, you don't get nothing accomplished. If you can get your laundry done and get showered and brush your teeth, you're doing pretty good. I was talking with the dentist, and the dentist said a lot of people aren't even brushing their teeth anymore because they're staying home and they're not brushing their teeth. And then I knew another person spend the whole day in their pajamas. Now, I do spend my whole day wearing gym shorts because I really like being comfortable staying at home here. If somebody does come in and see me, I'll put on a pair of sweatpants, just my dress-up clothes, And then the last thing that I'm thrilled about, like I said, is being able to work with Paul Hartman. Paul Hartman is one of the most eminent experts on sexual addiction and love addiction in the whole entire world. And he's making me make a list of all the money I've lost by investing in addictive relationships. And I've gone through and counted how much it's cost me. I'm up to about $2.2 million. If I had those $2.2 million working for me in the bank, I'd be out the pool with the dentist and the dermatologist and the urologist. But I burned that shit up by being an addict with women who didn't really love me and who weren't actually genuine people who loved me. They were false wives. There weren't two false wives, just one. And there were just false fiancés because my mother was a fraud. My mother really never was a mother to me. So, I say all that to say this. I want you to sit down and make a list of 15 steps that you can take. If you want to, make 10. If you want to start small and you're feeling like a little kid, make a list of 5. But do something. Write it down. Do it right now. Make a list of 15 things, or 10 or 5. And one of my favorite poets, David White, has a poem about this. He says, start close in. Do the first thing. Do the thing you don't want to do. You know what I didn't want to do is go get my dang license plates. But I made myself do it. Sure didn't want to go to the dentist. Sure didn't want to go get my skin scraped off. Wasn't really wild about having my shoulder. I've got a big scar. Huge scar. It's going to be impressive looking. But I just wanted to be a grown-up man. And whatever it is you need to do. One thing Glennon needed to do for herself is come up with a hobby. So she learned how to play the guitar. And I was working with somebody tonight, and she hadn't read the book, but she was looking for a hobby. And her daughter bought her a guitar, and she's going to start working on playing the guitar. So isn't that really cool? So these list of 15 things, it can be exercise, do yoga, do meditation. It can be walking. It can be invest in your friends, invest in your kids, invest in your family. Only you know the next right step. But yeah, the poem goes, take the first step, not the second step, not the third step. Take the first step, the one close in, the one you don't want to do. So, if you'll write these down and you'll take in and you'll read that book, Untamed, and you take some of the energy that I'm giving you from this video, you'll become a goddamn cheetah. And you'll if somebody would have told me that I would have refinanced my house, started 2 new YouTube shows, engaged Paul Hartman, got my Harley detailed, sort of fancied up my living room, got my $1,000, had a great show on suicide, got my license plates, got my skin cancer treated, got my shoulder surgery, gone to the dentist, had a knowing that got me out of a very toxic, manipulative relationship. I said refinance my condo. Got so organized that I know where everything is, and had a voice to some bullies. I had told you was nuts, because I was a broken man. If you don't feed your recovery, and if you feed your addiction will get real big and it'll get the better of you. But I'm a goddamn cheetah, and it feels good. It feels good to not be a regressed inner child. It's great to do your inner child work, to cry your tears. I've done so much of that work. It's really real and it's really important. Just don't live there forever. You're a grown-up. Find a way to heal your wounded inner child and then grow up and be a man and be a woman. It feels good to be strong. It feels good to be a real man who fixes things and takes care of things. Hey, I'm going to go to bed. Thank you for watching tonight. You got to learn a little bit about cheetahs. I'd ask you to not make a big deal out of what I shared about my son. I want that to be very private, and not bring attention to it. They're private people. They're powerful people. I wish I was about as powerful as my daughter-in-law, and she's like 31 years old. So I need to go eat something, and I need to get me some sleep. My little gizmo here, I don't think is working. Let me try it. Thank you for watching, and God bless. It ain't working. I'm going to use my finger. See y'all.